voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Landing Party. I'm your Captain Graham Nolan, and Captain's Log Stardate 2406.26, Court Martial. This episode was written by Don Mankiewicz and Stephen W. Karabatsos, with some uncredited help by Gene L. Kuhn. Directed by Mark Daniels again, and he will pop up again in the next episode for The Menagerie. I think he's done 3 or 4 of them at this point. Don Mankiewicz, he comes from Hollywood royalty. He was the son of legendary screenwriter Herman J. Mankiewicz, who, along with Orson Welles, wrote Citizen Kane. His nephew, Joseph Mankiewicz, was the Oscar-winning writer-director who wrote the screenplays for Guys and Dolls and All About Eve. Mankiewicz had never tried his hand in science fiction, but Roddenberry didn't care. He wanted to tap that screenwriting dynastic name to help boost Star Trek's acceptance. He was always looking for that name recognition so that he could point to them and say, hey, look who's writing for us. It was important, and it really did go a long way. The original title of this episode was called Court Martial at Starbase 811. Kind of a mouthful. I think it is Starbase 11 is where it does take place. Not 811, but Court Martial at Starbase 11 probably would have been kind of cool. But they changed it. They shortened it. The script was originally about a computer that had an emotional attachment to its programmer and disliked Kirk, and changed the recording to frame him. At this point in the story, all trials were computerized. And the accuser and witness is a soulless machine. And Mankiewicz wanted to pit that against an old school Clarence Darrow type to have humanity win out. This is why he's all into books and all that kind of stuff. A courtroom tale was supposed to save Desilu money, but as originally written, there were new sets needed. Something called a space jalopy is what the character who ends up being Finney, he had a different name in the original script. He steals it, and he goes and he hides out on or crashes on an asteroid. So that's a lot of money right there, a lot of effects money, and not that cool. The way it's going to play out in the script, it doesn't really work too well. So in the third and final draft, they're able to trim it down by cutting extraneous characters and having Finney hide on the ship rather than an asteroid. There's a bunch of firsts in this episode. This is the first of only 2 visits to a starbase in the original series. I believe the other one is the Menagerie. It's either the Menagerie or it's Trouble with Tribbles. But I don't know if Tribbles is on a starbase. I think it's something else. It's the first use of the nomenclature Starfleet and Starfleet Command. You remember we talked about some of those earlier episodes, the Space Fleet or the Space Service. They hadn't locked that stuff down yet. I believe it was Gene L. Kuhn who came up with that and finally locked that all down. This is the only appearance of female Starfleet dress uniforms worn by Joan Marshall, who plays Ariel. I can't remember her name now, her last name. Shaw, Ariel Shaw, who was the prosecuting attorney. Joan Marshall was the original wife of Herman Munster in the original Munsters pilot, and her name was Phoebe in the original pilot. And the person who developed that was Gene L. Kuhn. So he had a relationship with her and brought her onto this show. I've got the clip of that opening for the original Munsters pilot, and you can see why they made changes. We'll play it a little later. I'll probably get struck for it, but so let's do it a little bit later down the road. So let's bring in the rest of the landing team. Let's see what they have to say about this particular episode. First, we have the beautiful Star Trek girl, Anna.
Hello. Oh yeah,
Hello.
let me change my name again.
And we have the beautiful Aaron Lepresti.
Yeah, I can identify with this episode a little bit because I am that old school guy who resists computer technology in my art. So I'm that old geezer who says, read a book, young man. You want to know about the law? The law is in here.
Every word written by the people who came up with it.
Moses. And then he says Moses, and he quotes a bunch of like made up sci-fi guys that are in the future.
Captain's Hall, but not Finney. You know what always cracked me up about this episode was they hire what's his name? Something Webb, who plays Finney. And he's like 50 some odd years old when he's playing that role. And they obviously did not have a shirt that fit him. I mean, they have him in his black pants, and then he's got a black undershirt tucked in because the shirt is up so high, his belly would be hanging out. You're seeing skin.
I have that problem.
It's like it completely shrunk. You know, I mean, they had that problem with that velour, those velour shirts. Every time they washed them, they shrank. And like you can see it, even on Kirk, it's shrinking up from the bottom, They eventually
didn't have the budget to make a new one, huh?
I guess they eventually went to the polyester, in the third season with those long ones, that went down longer. But yeah, that always cracked me up.
These budgetary concerns in the future, space, you'd figure they'd have all that stuff figured out, but no. They still have shrinkage and all these other things. As far as laundry is concerned, I mean, when you say shrinkage, of course. I like this episode because I've always liked kind of courtroom dramas. And this is sort of based on that type of thing and the kind of against all odds kind of thing. One of the things I thought was interesting about this was when Kirk goes into the bar, right before he finds out that his ex hottie is prosecuting him. None of those guys will talk to him, right? So they're kind of like canceling him. And I thought it was interesting because what it says that Finney was so well liked, and maybe Kirk really wasn't that well liked by his peers. And to me, it kind of goes back to Shore Leave, which will be coming up shortly, where if you remember, Kirk and McCoy are talking about how Finnegan used to play tricks on Kirk, and Kirk was like, oh, I was, how did he describe himself in that? He goes, that he was very straight and narrow, by the book, and did his homework and didn't have time for fooling around. And it kind of makes me think in this episode that, here's a guy that's relatively young, what do you call in the Deadly Years, he says, I'm 34 years old. So, so he's a young captain. And so you wonder if maybe there's a little animus towards him with the ranks. And we get just a flavor of that in this episode, which I thought, because we all love Kirk, right? As the viewers, and everybody on the crew loves him. But then you got his peers are siding with Finney, like, I thought that was interesting. I just, because why would you automatically assume that Kirk would like push a dump button and kill this guy, just out of, carelessness. But apparently they did assume that, Graham.
And I like how the button just happens to be on his chair.
Yeah.
and it's labeled, pod or jettison pod or something, like there's a million things on this ship that it has to do, but damn it, the captain's got to jettison that pod.
Right there for easy access.
Yeah, I was like, how many times did he get a fight on the deck and maybe he got knocked into his chair? Oops, hit the pod again.
Yeah. Who was in the pod? Well, he's gone.
Get that button off my chair. Oh.
Yeah, you think somebody maybe down in the area where they do that research and stuff that the pod is out there for, would have, connections, It's like he can't beam people up from his chair,
Right.
from the transporter room. Why would he be able to, shoot off the pod?
That's the one button he has in his chair is that pod ejector.
I take a little different take on that, is because there's a whole slew of, don't get me wrong, I really like this one because the acting is so good and the drama is so good, but yes, it's a little far-fetched, some of the drama. It's manufactured, but it's still cool. It holds your interest.
Yeah.
Like when he walks into the bar, it's like automatically, here's this guy who they start reading off in the trial. They start reading off his accolades, and they have to stop it because they just don't have enough time to go over all the medals of valor and stuff that James T. Kirk has earned. And so he's been through the ringer and back and come out on top and everything. And these guys that are fellow captains that have been in the academy with him and everything, like all it takes is one accusation, and they're like, tell us about
exactly.
Penny. Yeah, it's like they're just dicks.
Well, but
what kind of friendship is that? What kind of trust in your fellow captain is that? Usually, like where's the blue wall, if you will, or in this case, the gold wall.
Yeah, it's interesting because maybe they were jealous dicks of Captain Kirk. That all he's achieved and stuff. What do you think, Anna?
No, it seems that way. Like everyone just waiting for him to do something wrong so they can all pounce on him.
Yeah, they can pile on. Exactly.
Yeah. Maybe it's intentional. Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, they're all just vultures waiting for you to do something wrong. You don't really have any real friends.
Right.
Yeah, you wonder if, as much work as they put into those scripts, you think, well, it's got to be intentional, but maybe they just needed a couple dicks in there to, but you would like to think that there was more to that than, because, why would these guys just, be so quick to, demonize Kirk?
Well, there's a lot of coincidences too. Like they just all happen to be on that starbase. His ex-girlfriend just happens to be on that starbase and is free to take the case.
Well,
there's a lot.
It's the only ship in the quadrant. So, I mean, maybe how many space stations are there? Or not space station, but would you call them commands? The space station was the Trouble with Tribbles, but this was a Starfleet.
It's a starbase.
Starbase. So we don't know how many they have. So maybe the odds are good. But and then again, Kirk gets around, as Anna will attest to. No, I'm just kidding. That there's probably a woman in every port, at least one for Kirk.
Well, definitely, but I don't know. I always assumed that was because Finney planned it out that way, that they would be by that certain starbase and it would be those certain people. Because he'd obviously.
Well, that could be, because wherever they got wrecked by that storm, they would have gone to the nearest starbase. So maybe he was planning on that. You're right. But did you guys watch the modern versions, right? The enhanced special effects.
Yeah, got them on DVD. Just saying.
I thought this one was really neat because when in the opening, when you first see it, you can see the damage on it. The paint on the decals is kind of scuffed off, and then you got that hole where the pod was. And then in the foreground and background, there's shuttlecraft zipping by it and stuff. I'd never noticed that before. Because a lot of time I watch these while I'm working, so my head is down and I'm drawing, and I miss those enhanced because I'm listening to all the great dialogue, and I miss the enhanced features. So, but for this show, I'd just been sitting and watching it, and it's been cool. I've been seeing stuff I hadn't seen.
That they did a great job. Those came out in the 90s, didn't they? When they redid those, the late 90s.
Could
Am I
be.
mistaken?
Could
Because
I
it
can't
seems to
remember.
me that they did, and I just thought that was so great because they didn't go overboard.
Right.
With it. They did just enough to kind of just update it without changing anything.
Right.
And so I actually like those quite a bit, even though I'm still have a great deal of respect for what they were able to pull off special effects wise in the 60s.
Yeah.
It's still,
See, to me, the Enterprise is always white, because in the 60s it was white.
it's gray now, isn't it?
It's all gray now. Yeah. And the original model was gray. It's just that it photographed white.
That's interesting. Kind of like Frankenstein was green, but he photographed pale.
Right.
So,
and I don't know I always thought it was white because the rockets that NASA was shooting off were white,
that makes sense.
Yeah. And you want to be able to see it in space. Whereas like they went with naval gray. And the reason that naval ships are gray is so that you can't see them. They can blend in with the sky, and so unless they're silhouetted, that type of thing. It's it has a functional purpose to it, But gray in space, this doesn't seem to.
They should have gone black with stars, then it would have blended right in with the background. You never see them. They have their own cloaking device just by
and it's cheap. You didn't need the model.
That's right. The other thing about this, it always bugged me when I was a kid, but now with what we're seeing with AI and stuff, it's totally believable. But I thought, come on, how could they change the video? It's one thing to change a recording of what someone says or something, or edit it differently, but how did they get the computer create an image of Kirk pushing a button that he didn't push?
Well,
but now it's totally believable now.
It is. It's totally good. And it's the episode actually resonates more now than it did in the 60s, because you're like, oh, okay, now how are you going to do that?
Right.
Well, now you know how,
Yeah, exactly.
The
and in the
computer
24th century, they knew. They already had their AI wars.
Yeah.
And,
the great AI war of 2010.
That's right. So they tried to put Kirk behind bars, but no machine can take out James T. Kirk.
I love the interplay between him and the Commodore. When he says, when he starts getting into it, and he says, do you want a court-martial? And he says, want it? I demand it. And I want it now. It's like, oh, that was really cool. It's like, oh, look at Kirk not backing down.
Yeah, because they're trying to get him to retire quietly, and
Or what, Commodore?
Yeah.
All right. And then he says, a lying, perjuring captain who's trying to hide, or his cowardice, or whatever it is. He says, you're looking at a court-martial, and he says, I demand one. It's so great.
I liked the prosecutor, the former Kirk's girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was really interesting because it's like if you're in that position in real life, I mean, obviously you'd have to dismiss yourself from the case, but you're supposed to uphold justice, do your job despite any personal feelings you may have about someone you're, prosecuting or whatever. And I just really thought that was really kind of fun how when she was alone with Kirk, she was all friendly, trying to help him out. But as soon as they got in the courtroom, man, she was like trying to take his head off.
Yeah.
So I kind of liked that sort of like interesting dynamic that was going on there.
And she even got Spock flustered. In your opinion? Yes. In my opinion. When you get Spock flustered, you're good.
Well, I kept waiting for this was the interesting thing about what was the defending lawyer's name again? Cogsworth.
Cogley.
Cogsworth. Cogley, whatever. Didn't he every single time sit there and go, no questions at this time? No questions at this time. I mean, it's like he had no case, And then finally, when he gets that information about Spock beating the computer at chess, he like suddenly gets an idea, and you're like, what was your plan if Spock hadn't come through? You know, it's like he was showing no defense at all. And I'm like, dude, you got all these books and you have zero defense until Spock helps you out.
You know, they build it up really nicely, but one of the downfalls is once they get to the ship, and Cogsley, you know, he has this epiphany, you know, it's just I ask, you know, to leave the ship, and I'm gonna be back, and we never see him again. He's gone for the rest of the episode.
That's true. Jamie shows up, but he's not there.
Yeah,
it's implied he showed back up because when Kirk tells Finney that his daughter's on board,
right,
but we just don't see them,
right. But
we didn't see her
we
either,
never see him. We never see Kirk thank him for anything, or you know, it's just like we've got
they had a budget issue.
We've got Elijah Cook for 2 days, and that's all we can shoot. That's scene. If we bring him back, that's day 3. We can't afford that.
That's right. They were going into the 3rd day, and he's like, okay, just have him asked to leave the bridge. We'll work on the script tonight to figure out why. And
evidently,
got to get him out of here, man.
He had trouble remembering his lines too, so they had to, you know, he had to do like 1 or 2 lines at a time, and like when he gives that big speech, they had to edit it all together because for some reason he was having trouble remembering the lines. Maybe it's because it was sci-fi, or
it's like Biden giving a speech.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's like that on Thursday.
he hit the wall. Well, it depends if they use the Biden, the real Biden, or the Biden in the FBI or the CIA mask. Right?
Yeah, or the Biden that's jacked up on all kinds of
drugs, you know. What you know, the guy that played Cogsley, he was in that Humphrey Bogart movie. It wasn't the Maltese. Was it the Maltese? It wasn't the Maltese Falcon.
Yes.
Was it the Maltese Falcon?
Yeah, he was Wilmer, the consul.
Yeah, he gets like poisoned or whatever. When no, he doesn't get poisoned. He gets he runs out on Gutman and Spade because they're going to hand him over. Okay, then what movie is it where Humphrey Bogart's in the other room and he's the guy's talking to him, he's overhearing him, and then he poisons him. God, was that Humphrey? Am I conflating 2 different movies?
You might be.
Who was it that it wasn't Cary Grant, was it? No, gosh, no, I'm gonna have to look it up now. It's driving me nuts.
He was in over 200 movies.
Yeah, I know. He was like
he
was always kind of this little Weasley guy, you know, and now he's an attorney that's just too expensive that even Star Trek can't afford him on the 3rd day.
He's a great actor, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been in so many good things. He was in Blackula.
Oh.
But was he in Scream, Blackula, Scream? That's what I want to know.
Well, maybe.
Wasn't the other guy that's on the court martial, it wasn't he Blackula?
No, not the guy, the Commodore, but the guy who played
Computer.
Richard Daystrom in the
Ultimate
Yeah,
Computer.
wasn't the guy that played Richard Daystrom in this episode?
No,
that was
That's
a different
not
guy.
No.
They sound the same.
Yeah, they have that great voice, but the guy who plays Daystrom, he's got this Shakespearean voice. He's the guy who played Blackula. William Marshall.
Yeah, William Marshall. That's
William
right.
Marshall. He's so amazing. He takes that exploitation film and just elevates it.
Yes.
Yeah. And the Dracula that bites him is the prefect in Wolf in the Fold.
Yep, that's right.
The guy whose daughter gets killed by Jack the Ripper.
All this everything comes back to Star Trek. It does. It's just amazing.
Screw Kevin Bacon. Yeah,
that's right.
It's a Star Trek connection.
That's right. It's 6 degrees to Star Trek. So, oh my!
I got a bunch of super chats I should probably take care of here.
Wait, before you read them, what was that actor's name? So I want to look this movie up really quickly because it's driving me nuts.
Elijah Cook Jr.
There you go. All right. Go ahead with the soup. Don't let me hold you up.
All right.
I'll up while you're reading them.
The duck goes quack for $2. Alas, Lieutenant Commander Finney, we hardly knew you. Stealth 5, X5 rather, says hello. It was an odd twist for the prosecutor to have pretrial meeting with the defense without announcing her role before recommending his defense. Oh, details.
Yeah, come on now.
Hey, Kino Reviews is here. Hey, Kino, I saw Kino in New Jersey. When you have military vets writing a show with a young buck captain who outranks you, yes, there will be some hostility among other members of the crew. All right.
The Big Sleep. It was The Big Sleep I'm thinking of.
Ah, okay. You'd think there'd be a safety on that button. Yeah, something that, like a cap on it that you have
You're
to
right. You have to
pop off
lift up
press
the
button,
cap before you push the button, right?
Like the trigger on a machine gun on a ship, on a plane rather. Every woman is a port. Oh,
my God. Oh, Russell.
And as defense, they all look alike to her.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming.
Oh my God. No, I just looked up both of these guys. They do look very similar, but I thought it was the voice.
Yeah, William Marshall's a lot taller. He's like 6'4".
Yeah, he's a big dude. He's a big dude.
Yeah, he is a big. When Kirk has to give him that neck hold, it's like he's on his tippy toes trying to reach up and grab you. Yeah. He's like, "Hey, get down here!
Get down here where I can reach you."
Yeah, because Shatner's not that tall. You look and you can see the heels and the lifts. To get them.
That's really bad when you have to wear platform, heels on your boots, and then you have lifts inside those. That's tough.
That's Alan Ladd territory.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't even know how tall Shatner was, but we know that Garney had to kneel down to get eye to eye with him.
I think IMDb says he's like 5'8", maybe.
He's taller than that because he's taller than Cecil.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think he's your height.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
He's my height.
I met him in person. I think he's Graham's height. Yes.
But he was sitting on a big bar stool, wasn't he?
I had to watch him walk around.
So how tall are you? You're short though. How tall are you?
I am short. I don't know. I'm short.
5'3" or something.
I was wearing heels when I met him.
Okay, but how tall are you normally?
Short.
Give it up.
It says he's the same height as I am, 5'9".
Yeah, I think that's actually accurate.
Really?
Okay. That's what it says.
I've never stood next to him, so.
Well, you're just a giant. Everyone looks short to you.
That's true. I'm a mutant freak. Thanks for bringing it up. Okay. I'm okay now.
Krabby Patty says Cecil's 3'2".
Yeah.
5 foot nothing.
That's funny.
3'2".
Well, what's his name? Elijah Cook Jr. is only 5'5".
And he towered over Kirk. No, I'm kidding. So Finney, here's the other question I had about this. You mentioned earlier that Finney was like relatively old in this episode, right? In his 50s or something.
Yeah.
Which still isn't as old as me, but beside the point. How did he get? I mean, he was claiming that Kirk passed him over, right, for promotion.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like 20 years older than Kirk. So
well, it's because he was at Starfleet Academy for too long. So when he entered and actually worked on a ship, it was when Kirk was working on a ship, which you would think if you were a teacher at Starfleet Academy, you would get a kind of higher rank on a ship, right?
Yeah, that's the only thing I had was the age difference, and yet they seem to be at one point in their careers.
Maybe even in the 23rd centuries, those that can do and those who can't teach.
That's a great line and still very valid in a lot of ways.
Shatner is 5'8.5" with 2-inch lifts. Everybody lies on those IMDb things,
Right. Well, that's why I always take like 2 inches off. They go, "Oh yeah, I'm 6'2". Okay, so you're 6 foot. Yeah, I'm 5'8". Yeah, you're 5'6".
I'm obsessed with that kind of stuff. I love to,
so am I.
to look at the heights of actors and actresses and stuff and compare them to things and see what they're doing. And William Goldman, the great screenwriter, was like that too. And in his book, What Lies Did I Tell Last? Adventures in Screenplay, in Storytelling, or Adventures in Screenplay. I forget what the whole title was, but something like that. Anyway, he was at a party one time, a pool party in Hollywood, and there was all these people there, and he's in the pool, and he sees Sylvester Stallone in the pool. And he's like, okay, game on. Because you're in the pool, you don't have no lifts, you haven't got no shoes or anything, so you got to be whatever height you are. And I think Goldman was like 6 foot, 6'1", something like that. And he saddles over into the pool, to lean up and stand next to Stallone to see how tall he was. And then in the next sentence, he goes 5'7".
That's the amazing thing about Stallone. Like if you look at like his early movies, like the Lords of Flatbush and stuff, he looked huge in that movie. Like he was bigger than everybody else. And yet he's not. I mean, it's like, I guess you stand him next to Henry Winkler and he looks tall, but Perry King was in that. And I think Perry King looks like he's tall, but he might not be. I don't know. Hollywood height is that's when it started really bugging me, is when I'd run into these guys at shows. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh yeah, Lou Ferrigno says he's 6'5", and I'm like, dude, he's an inch taller than me. He's not 6'5". Maybe he was before he got,
That's
old.
what you wonder, if in their heyday that they were, because you tend to get smaller as you age, and particularly if you're a big guy, you got all that compression on your spine. Yeah. The lifting he was doing and everything, that could have knocked off, I mean, I met Arnold, and when he was young, 82, he was working on Conan the Destroyer, and he was at least 6'1" when I met him. And he said, they always said during his competition years he was 6'2". So I mean, I don't know how he is now. Right, he sort of looks smaller now when you see him in films, but.
Well, they always show like pictures, and when they question this stuff, they always show like, especially for that movie, Conan the Destroyer, when he's standing next to who's the British actress, the really tall one that was in Superman 2. She's like the evil witch in that movie.
Oh yeah,
and she's like taller than he is, and she's like, now maybe she had heels on, but still, I know she's tall, but so you always kind of wonders like, okay, wait a minute now.
Here, share this picture. So this always freaks me out. So Tom Cruise is supposed to be 5'7", and Brad Pitt is supposed to be 5'10", and they're all the same height. Antonio Banderas is supposed to be 5'10" too. And I'm like,
Well, Cruise has got to have lifts in.
He is tiny. That guy is not tall.
No, I don't think he's even 5'7". I think he's much shorter than that.
Yeah, I think you're probably looking at
Banderas looks like he's got heels on, like a cowboy boot there.
Yeah.
So he could be getting a lift. And I don't know about Christian Slater, how tall he is.
I think Christian Slater's short, but he doesn't try to hide that he's shorter. But still, I see this picture and it freaks me out because I'm like, no way is Tom Cruise the same height as Brad Pitt.
Right. Brad Pitt's 5'10", you said, or 5'11"?
5'10", I think.
5'10", okay.
Yeah, I'd buy that. Yeah, Tom Cruise is like 5'6" or 5'5" or something. I mean, he is not tall.
He's as tall as Elijah Cook Jr.
Well, who else is short? I brought this up before. Is who's the Mexican tough guy that's always in?
Danny Trejo.
That dude. I walked by him at a Houston show and I thought he was a little kid. And I was like, oh, that's Danny Trejo. That guy is short.
Yeah, he is.
Like 5'4" kind of like Anna's height.
And he was a gangbanger too.
I know he's been in jail for like murder or something. I mean, I don't want to mess with him. I don't want to call him short to his face, but he's not.
I mean, Cagney was short, but I wouldn't say it to him.
Yeah,
he was a tough little Irishman.
Yep.
But
that's funny how it amazes me just how like Hollywood. I mean, obviously Hollywood culture is very separate than real life culture, but it's like you get everybody in Hollywood is short, with the exception of like Clint Eastwood, maybe John Wayne. There's like a couple, right? But everybody else
Tom Selleck is tall.
Who?
Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck, yeah.
Yes, Tom Selleck was tall.
He's 6'4".
Yeah.
But James Arness was 6'6".
Yeah, he was a big dude too. But for the most part, everybody is just like, you know, if you're 6 foot in Hollywood, you're a freaking giant, you know?
Yeah.
And it always just cracked me up because when you get everybody together and they're all short, then, you know, Alan Ladd being tiny doesn't really, you know, you can get away with it, you know?
Yeah. But you know what the key was having a big head, because
Yes.
in old Hollywood, you know, it's all about the close up.
Yeah.
And you could get Cagney next to George Bancroft and get them in the same frame by having Cagney stand on a box, and they look proportional because Cagney had a giant head. Same thing with Bogart.
Yeah, Bogart had a giant head.
Bogart was only 5'8", I think, but he had the head of, like, you know, guy that was 6'4".
Oh my gosh.
I was watching CSI in the hotel. Shelley and I were watching CSI New Orleans show that Scott Bakula's in.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, you know, these tough cop, you know, CIS investigators. And we may have watched the season finale or the series finale because like everybody was getting killed. But there was this guy that was this regular guy and he was supposed to be this tough guy. And he was scrawny, he had an enormous head. And I was like, I told Shelley, I said, like, can't they get a guy who looks like he might be a tough cop? I mean, can they not find a guy that looks like he could be a tough? This guy was, you know, he's trying to be all tough and stuff, and his arms were like as big as my wrist. You know, and I'm just like, come on, man.
Oh,
Who are you
pretty boy.
intimidating? Yeah, well, he wasn't even that good looking. He was just scrawny, you know. But he had an enormous head, so maybe that was the deal. I don't know. But he got killed, so I was thankful for that.
Aw.
No, it's sad.
In old Hollywood, they didn't like measure your height; they just measured the circumference of your head.
Your head.
You'll do.
That's right. You got all these hats. If your head fits in these hats, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Hat department.
Maybe that's it. They don't want to spring for new costumes. So like everyone has to be short so you all can fit.
Well,
Yeah.
I oftentimes question, why do certain types of demographics like gravitate to certain things? Like, why are all actors short? Well, you got to figure most actors, if you think of when you're in high school, what's that?
Smaller sets. They don't have to build sets to accommodate a 6'6" dude.
Well, I think it's most big people at some point, tall people are athletes generally. You know, if they're really tall, somebody's making them play basketball, they're offensive linemen or whatever, you know, in high school. And then all the nerds, right, go out for acting and they're all the short, scrawny guys. And so I think that's what it is.
Is that your theory?
That's
You
my
going with that?
theory. I mean, of course, people like Brad Pitt who are just like so ridiculously good looking, it's not even fair. You know, those are the exceptions. But I just think that it's like, you know, that must have been a thing, you know, and I think it still is. It's like guys that are bigger and taller and more, you know, athletic, or what, they're playing sports. These other guys that are small and scrawny or whatever, they go into acting. And so there you go. You have short Hollywood. That's my theory anyway, Graham, and I'm going to stick with it for the time being.
But, you know, Gary Cooper, John Wayne, Clint Eastwood, Chuck
Yeah,
Connors.
but you're talking a handful of guys compared to the mass amounts of shrimpy actors that are out there.
Well, like Brando was, I think, 5'9".
That's
you know,
average.
the average height. Yeah, that's what I am. I'm average height. But
I like to think of myself as I'm an exceptional height, is what I like to think. All I wanted was like to be 3 inches taller during basketball season, but
all I know is that everything's made for me.
that's right. There's cars I can't get into. It's ridiculous.
Well, except airplane seats. My shoulders hang off the edges of the airplane seats.
Yeah, well,
but the legs are good.
Mine too.
Yeah, that's funny. My mom won't date certain height men because they won't fit in her cars because she has like classic graffiti cars.
Oh.
So no guys over 6 feet can fit.
Well, hang on a second. So she's driving on all the dates? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, when she likes to go to car shows.
Oh, I see.
And she also needs a boyfriend that will fix her cars for her. And if they can't fit in it to test drive it, then they can't fix it.
Well, I guess that's usually it's the other way around, right? You got all these, you know, you see all these not YouTube, but TikTok videos of these guys interviewing girls, and they're always demanding the guy makes $200,000 a year and you know, has to be at least 6'1" or something. And
Those
you're
are
like,
all girls in college that don't know anything about life.
I know, but it just cracks me up. It's like, well, what makes you think you're so special that a 6'1" guy that makes $200,000 a year wants to date you? So
They think just because they're there, they're worthy.
yep.
Logic's
Yeah.
finest says, could it be the fact that average male is only 5'8" and average woman is 5'4"? Most people are average height. Well, it could be.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I guess if you law of averages and everything, but you'd think
Right.
that. Well, I'm still sticking by my theory, Graham. I like it. I'm going to stay with it. I don't need facts.
6 feet, 6 inches, 5 figures.
Oh no.
Oh, Lynn Green. Well, she's the She-Hulk, so she's probably pretty good sized. At least
Right.
when she's the Hulk. Is she the She-Hulk or is she an Orion slave girl? I'm not sure. In that
Yeah,
picture.
that's a good question. Which are you, Lynn Green? Are you the
Are you the She-Hulk or are you
I go with the
she meant 6
Orion since
figures.
it's a Star Trek show.
She meant 6 feet, 6 inches, 6 figures.
Okay,
She's
she's
Orion.
Orion.
Orion slave
Orion
girl.
slave girl? There you go. I prefer them to She-Hulk anyway. So
Yeah.
pretty good, Lynn.
Yeah. He's a Susan Oliver man.
Yeah, when are we going to get some Orion slave girl episodes? I can go deep dive into that.
I don't think we have another one until third season, right?
Well, actually, isn't next week court martial? Or not court martial, but
yes, that's correct.
Menagerie.
I feel like we already watched it, but yeah, it's the Menagerie is next week.
the Menagerie, right? See, when you said court martial, the first thing I thought of was Menagerie. And then I went, no, wait a minute. That's not what that's called, but that's what's going on. So you got back-to-back court martial episodes. How about that? First
Yeah.
Kirk and then Spock. The whole
Yeah.
crew of the Enterprise is suspect.
And just so everybody knows in the chat, we're going to have a 2-week hiatus next week because I'm going to be on vacation. Anna's going to be on vacation. So we'll come back and we'll do the 2-part and start up again with Menagerie. So
Yeah, I might do a
we'll
fill-in
have next
episode.
Wednesday and the next Wednesday after that off.
Yeah.
I might do a fill-in episode called Defending Star Trek 2, and I'm the only one who needs to be on it.
That is true. I'm glad you're average height. I'm 6'3", and this entire world is not made for me. I have to adjust to fit everything. Planes, I have to sit on the aisle seat. Yeah, I sit on the aisle seat too.
I do that all the time because that's
I
because I
don't-
have to go to
it's
the
not-
bathroom.
It's not my legs, but my shoulders.
Window
That's
all the way for
My
me.
bladder.
And that's the other thing, and the bladder. You know, it's to be able to control the aisle. Like if I want to get up and go to the bathroom, I don't have to say excuse me.
Right. That's exactly why I sit in the aisle seat.
Oh, I got a funny story about that. I always get the aisle seat, but I was going to a con one time and they somehow booked me a window seat. And I had my flight was delayed and stuff. So I went to this little bar in the airport, and I had like 3 of those those 22-ounce Blue Moon beers, right?
Before you get on a plane, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And then they call for boarding everything. Oh, okay. So I get in there. I get into my seat, and I got these 2 teenage girls in the other 2 seats.
Oh, brother.
And I'm doing fine, but then we got delayed on the tarmac, and you know you're not supposed to get up, and I'm like my fillings are floating, and I'm like oh, excuse me, ladies, I go to the bathroom. They're like, oh, okay, and they they're on their phones and they're scooting over, and then I scoot out. I go, well, now I've popped the seal, and
Oh no.
yeah. Well, you don't know you're not a drinker, Aaron, but once you pee that first time after drinking beer, you're going to have to pee like 4 or 5 times within the next 10 minutes.
Oh, they hated you, didn't they?
Oh
don't you
my
just
God. So I come back, I sit
Just
down.
ask the girl to trade with you.
I know, right? So a few minutes later, I'm sitting there and we're still waiting. I'm like, uh-oh. Excuse me, girls. Now they're giving me this, oh my God,
Yeah, it's like, why are you wearing the diaper, old man? Yeah.
By the 3rd time, I think they were disgusted of me. They think, what is wrong with this old man?
At that point,
Oh
don't
my-
you say, look, I just slugged down
I'm
4
sure
beers.
the girl in the aisle would have loved to have the window seat. You should have just traded with her.
They could have said, you know what? Why don't you take the window seat and I'll move over there? Oh my God.
Wow.
I felt so embarrassed, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Pop the seal. I like that. I have to remember that. Pop the seal.
It's true.
Once you go, it's like, look out.
Yeah. And it's mostly with beer. If you're drinking bourbon, it doesn't, it doesn't happen like that. But when you drink beer, man, you can go quite a long time. But once you go that first time, it's all over. It's all over but the crying.
Well, I was going to say, you might as well just have stood up in the back by the bathrooms going, I'm just going to stand here for about 30 minutes till all this gets out of my system.
Yeah, it's all that gets out.
Excuse me. Oh my gosh, that's funny.
The Wookiee says that Star Wars girl, congratulations, Anna. Live long and prosper. May the true force be with you. How nice.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I was just explaining. Next week is mine and Peach's 8-year anniversary. And then the next week we're going camping. So that's why I will be gone.
Wait a minute, 8 years? You were dating
like
for
we've
8 years?
Yeah, 8 years.
Wow. What took him so long?
Well, life.
You still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I thought you were gonna. It sounded like you said, "Well, life." And then
No, I was saying life. Well, when we first started dating, I think I was too young to get married, and then I had a lot of family tragedies, and I think it was the right time when we got married. So everything works out.
Okay. Because I thought you were pressuring him for a couple of years there, and he wasn't.
Oh, I mean, I was teasing him, but I don't know. I never wanted to get married. Like that was never on my to-do list because my parents had a really bad divorce. But yeah, when you meet the right one, it works.
There you go.
For sure.
Nothing like peaches. Good peaches.
Yay, peaches.
When I met my wife, we were married in 6 months.
Oh my God.
We were engaged in 3, married in 6, and it'll be 39 years in November.
Yeah, Shelly and I were engaged in 3 months, but we waited a year because for a time that everybody could make sure they could be there.
Right.
And,
oh my God. I don't know. If a guy proposed to me after 3 months, I'd be like, you're crazy. I know I'm awesome, but I'm not that awesome.
Yeah, but I was 28. So it was like I'd been doing all the dating. I was, at that point, you're kind of like, I think I'm ready.
Well, now that Anna's 35, it's
Oh
time
my
for her to
God.
say yes. It was time to say yes to the dress.
Oh God.
She won't tell us how old she is. She won't tell
That
us
clock
how
is
old
ticking,
she is.
Anna.
That clock is ticking. I'm already pregnant.
Yeah.
The answer, Logic's finest, is the Fuente Fuente Opus 10. There you go.
That's all Greek to me.
It's a common trait of all alcoholics, Graham.
It's normal, Graham. There you go.
My Irish liver saves me half the time.
That happened to me one time. I was on a plane, but it was a really late night flight. And it was back in the days when planes weren't like full all the time, which they seem to be now. But yeah, I was just drinking a ton of water. I was like, man, I got to pee. So I got up, went to the bathroom, came back, sat down, and not 5 minutes later, I had to get up and go again. I was like, what just happened there? But
Geez, for like, I don't know, a tall guy, you guys seem to have small bladders. I can go through an entire flight and never have to use the restroom. I think when we went to Brazil, it's like, what, a 14-hour flight, and I only went once.
Wow.
Are you kidding me?
My daughter's like that. I call her iron bladder. She can hold forever.
Well, I just know not to drink anything because I hate using airplane toilets.
Yeah, it is kind of
not so bad for us.
Hey, wait till you get to change a diaper.
Yeah, you guys don't have to sit.
Yeah.
Wait till you get to change a diaper in one of those, Anna. That's when it's really.
I don't think we're gonna fly anywhere with a baby.
Yeah, you don't think so, but then
God, I don't know.
Oh yeah. When we went to Germany, Aaron, we were on the same flight, and Aaron was on the other side of the plane than me.
And we had never met at this point.
Right, we hadn't met yet until we actually landed at the airport. But they gave you free drinks on the airplane, as much as you want, So, it was nighttime, I figured, I'll just have a few beers and, then I'll get all sleepy and put my legs up on the back chair and curl up like a like a crushed body and try and get some sleep. But those beers, once you start going, man.
Well, we were near the back too, so it wasn't too far of a walk to get to the bathroom, as I recall. And it was not. Yeah, the flight wasn't particularly full either, as I recall. At least back where we were sitting.
Yes, we were in the like if we were the Titanic, we were in the below decks.
We were
We were
all
the
the way in
ones
the back.
locked in saying, "Open these gates!"
We were all the way in the back. All the way in the back.
Hey, do you guys want to see that
Oh yeah, the Munster
the
thing.
monster thing?
Yeah,
You-
I do
Yeah, where do you
actually.
see this?
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay. And the music is horrible. I mean, I can't believe that they said, "All right, let's not just scrap this thing altogether."
Well, you could mute the opening so you won't get
Yeah, you
struck.
don't get struck.
Yeah, okay. Well, I want you to hear a little of the music,
Okay, all right.
so because you can talk over it. All right.
I've already heard enough.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's her.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Now she made the cut to the
Yeah.
rate. She was the first Marilyn in the series. This guy did not make the cut.
Oh, it's not Butch.
No, it's Happy Durman.
Good old. How come we haven't seen Happy during the convention circuit?
Yeah. Now the makeup is different too. Like Grandpa's makeup is different. And now this is the credits, right? And there's canned laughter going on while he falls against the wall too,
Mm.
which is really weird. Now, wait do you see Herman looks really weird.
Now, had they actually shot like a pilot yet, or was it this?
This is the pilot.
Okay, so she actually, yeah.
They felt she was too much like Morticia in the Addams Family.
Like Morticia, so.
So, they hired Yvonne DiCarlo to play like the Bride of Dracula type look with the white dress and all that,
Well,
Why didn't they just change her costume?
Maybe they didn't dig her performance either.
I mean, she's really pretty, almost too pretty. Although Yvonne DiCarlo is pretty, really beautiful too.
And this was filmed in color too, which is crazy.
Oh yeah, because the show. Was there ever a show that wasn't in black and white? Or
Hey, that's Bud Abbott's son.
Oh really?
Norman Abbott.
So they did the pilot in color, but the series was in black and white. But then the movies were in color.
Correct.
So this never even made it on TV. This was just
This was to sell to the network.
It's like Kirk's Alexander the Great pilot.
Right. Yeah, she is good looking. So she made this before the Star Trek episode.
She looks really young. She looks too young, I think. And maybe a little too hot. She has this goth hot look thing going on right now that because Yvonne DiCarlo was older at this point.
Yeah.
It's still really attractive, but just older and was a little bit more regal, I guess, maybe is the right word. But
and Herman is kind of laconic in this. He's sort of like draggy ass. He doesn't have that kind of kinetic that kind of thing that he developed later.
Well, what do you know about this in terms of if they didn't like the pilot, they actually ordered a second pilot, or?
No, I think they liked it enough to greenlight it, but the people that were making it decided they were going to make some changes, or maybe they asked them to make changes. We can do this, but we need you to make changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a real werewolf. This kid, he's like snarling and going. Rah.
Yeah, Butch Henry was a fun-loving werewolf kid. This kid, that's funny.
Butch Patrick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if maybe I'm going to watch this later. I wonder if it was maybe a little too.
Marilyn, just never you mind about Marilyn. Now you must remember that she's not as fortunate as the rest of us. Try this jacket on. I won't. I hate it. It's just.
He's annoying already.
Yeah, he's annoying the crap out of me. Turn the volume off.
Yeah. Well, there you go, folks. That's the
Interesting. Too bad that's not public domain. That'd be good to like do a mystery science.
yeah, that would be
Watch
fun.
that whole thing all the way through, and
I think I'm gonna watch it just to see it, and because I always like the Munsters, especially like that second season theme. You know,
I have never seen that.
you ever see the Munsters?
No,
Oh.
I've seen like clips of it, but I've never actually watched an entire episode all the way through.
It's funny because we used to watch the Addams Family all the time, but I much preferred the Munsters, but it wasn't on as much for some reason. At least when I was a kid and around local programming here, we didn't get the reruns. We always got Addams Family. So Gilligan's Island, Star Trek, and Addams Family.
I didn't like Addams Family as much as
I didn't either.
Munsters, probably because Munsters was like the Universal Monsters, you know.
Right.
That's your thing.
That's my jam. All right, so what do you guys think about this episode?
What episode? What are we talking about?
Yeah, I really like this episode.
So give us a number, Anna.
Oh, a number?
Anna Bobana.
I have to remember what I give the other ones. I'll say like a 7 or an 8 on this one.
Well, look at you.
I know it's an enjoyable one. I guess that's a higher for me.
Wow, and there's no action in it either, too.
I don't know. I like drama. Like I like action when there is because there is action when he fights Finney at the end, but I think that the plot is really compelling.
Those stuntmen were pretty obvious.
Oh, I know, man. When they show the behind the, Kirk or whoever, and with the haircut, and you go, okay, that's clearly not even close to being Kirk.
Far away shots, where where they're squaring off and fighting. That's like when in the one with Khan. There's that fight with Khan. It's like Shatner and Montalban are nowhere near the set when that was filmed.
They had to get him off. They didn't want to pay him. They had to know.
Yeah, that's right. We're done.
Get Montalban off the set. He's costing us too much money. I'm gonna agree with Anna. I'm gonna go with an 8 on this. I do really like this episode for, in a weird way, it's kind of like it sort of mirrors Conscience of the King in terms of lack of action.
Right.
But I do prefer the drama in this over the Conscience of the King, just because, like I said, I've always enjoyed courtroom drama.
Yeah, me too.
I always find that fascinating and fun. So I'll give it an 8.
I think I would agree. I'd say 7.5 or 8. So I'll go with the flow here and give this one an 8 too. Yeah, I think I'll give it 7.5. I think I give Conscience of the King an 8.
Well, they're basically, very similar in terms.
But I think I like that one a little bit better.
Really?
Yeah.
I like this one better.
It's close. I mean, we're only talking about half a point here.
Yeah.
No, this is kind of a Star Wars girl criticism, but it was like I really hated Finney, and it would have been a much better episode if he had actually ejected him out of the pod.
Who said that?
No, Anna always finds like one character she doesn't like.
Oh yeah, that ruins the whole
right?
thing for her.
Yeah, and so
the one character I don't like in this is his daughter. I'm like, oh my god,
I didn't like her either. Yeah,
they should have gotten someone younger because she was way too much of a crybaby
for as old as she was.
I tried to look up and see how old that actress was at that time, and I couldn't find her birth date. But yeah, because I agree. I don't know if it was the haircut or what, but she looked a lot older than.
Well, you could tell she was in her late 20s, and they're trying to have her play that she's a teenager, and it's like, no, you need to get a teenager, somebody.
Yeah,
they could have gotten one of William Shatner's kids to play her. They were young enough.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. It was like there's no teenagers, walking around Hollywood that you could have given that part to. I don't know.
You could have asked any of the guys on set. What Leonard Nimoy had a daughter that was younger. Shatner had 2. I'm sure anyone working on the show probably had a kid around that they could have just grabbed.
You've only got to pull off about 6 lines, okay? So can you do it? No, I just thought Finney was a wimp. I mean, what a crybaby. You
Well,
know,
Also,
for
how
someone
about the
that's
makeup
smart.
on him? How about the
yeah,
insanity makeup on him? Like,
yeah,
all right, you were in Starfleet, and you've got like this 5 o'clock shadow.
yes.
How many days have gone by? He's got the crazy eyes. It's like I think they'd have booted him out of Starfleet a long time ago.
Well, he's the
Wasn't that the
perfect.
thing that
He
he
was.
finally broke?
Yeah. Well, he's the perfect example of someone who caused all of his own problems, but is looking to blame someone else for them.
Yeah, right.
I think it would have been better if they would have shown him before, like when they're talking about him, like
Mhm.
anything to show him cleaned up and like doing good at his job versus
That's a good
how he
point.
is at the end. Because then we
Yeah,
could see, oh yeah, this guy really went nuts. Like this is him finally showing his true self. That would have, I think, made the episode a lot better. But
I agree. I
budget.
agree.
Yeah, you couldn't have him for more than 3 days. You know the rules. Get him out of there. No, that's an excellent point because all we get to see is this whiny, crying, crazy Finney, and you're like, who's sympathizing with this guy? But if you'd
Yeah,
set him up,
considering how everyone else is like on his side.
yeah. Oh, Finney was a great guy. Everybody loved Finney. And you're like, really? Did they know him?
It's like you all like this crazy dude.
Everybody liked this creep. What's wrong with Starfleet, man?
See, Kirk didn't know, but it wasn't Finney. It was Finnegan.
Oh God.
Oh, well, at least we know why Finnegan wasn't on the show anymore because
There was
I
there was
like
a
this
scene
character.
filmed with the daughter after the fight, and he's all crumpled up, a broken man type thing, where Jamie comes in and try and comforts her father and stuff, and then he's breaking down, and he tells Kirk, where the problem, the sabotage is.
It's in
But
the
they
Jeffries tube.
cut it out because it was going to run long, and so instead they had to do a voiceover,
Right. Yes.
which is
Kirk.
sort of poor storytelling.
Yeah.
It's they kind of had to shoehorn that in to get it to have it make sense, and so he had to pull those tubes one at a time.
Yeah, out of yeah, and then switch them or whatever, and it was sparking and everything. But well, as our good friend Ron Garney would say, you got to know it's a television show with limitations, Graham. You can't get
Oh my
too
gosh.
picky with that
Where
stuff.
is Ron?
I don't know. He's probably working on a Berserker page.
Keanu is demanding.
Well, there you go. That might be kind of what they're playing up, is that high noon
Yeah.
angle.
It could be. It could be. But as John Wayne had pointed and Howard Hawks pointed out, that was the communist version of America.
Right. Help me.
Yeah. No help. Yeah.
But he did but Gary Cooper, come on, man. He was looking for help, couldn't get any, and he went out there, faced
His
him
wife
down.
helped him. Grace Kelly helped him.
Yeah. Grace Kelly helped him.
But he was
Wow.
still I never really got that criticism of that movie because I get it fundamentally, but I'm like, if Gary Cooper had been like, if he wasn't willing to go out and face him at the end, but he did, and it was kind of like, okay, yeah, sure, I want help too.
It reminds me so much of like modern day cancel culture. It's like everybody loves you when you're popular, but the second you fall out of grace, everyone
right.
turns on you.
Yeah. Yeah, and Will Kane at the very end takes his badge and throws it in the dirt. He says like, "Fuck you guys." I gave I risked my life here, and you guys couldn't even help me out. To protect your own interests.
Right.
Mhm.
Because that's what it is. I mean, just imagine yourself. Like you live in a town, and some biker gang comes into your town. Or some gang is running through your streets. I know every dude on my block would be out there with baseball bats and or shotguns or whatever they had, to turn that away. And specifically, if the police had asked for some help, to bolster things, and they said, okay, you could, load up, dudes.
I got
people would do that.
Phasers back here that might help. I don't know. I'll just put them on stun though, because I don't want to seriously, hurt anybody.
Oh man. All right, gang, we've hit the hour mark here. I want to thank everybody that's in the chat that shows up for our shows. We had a lot of, I meant to tell you guys, we had a lot of really positive feedback at the New Jersey Con. People coming up and saying, "Hey, I'm loving the landing party show and everything." So I think we're reaching people, which is nice.
Yeah, I had a lot of people come up at SummerCon in Washington, and they were the same thing. A lot of guys talking about the professionals as well.
Yeah.
And then I would say, well, have you watched this, or did you check this out? And you kind of turn them on to one of the other shows. The funny thing is, though, Graham, you and I are involved in all these shows that people like. What do you think about that, Anna?
Cool. Good for you.
It's obviously our star quality.
Yeah, it's just don't pay any attention that Anna actually has like 150,000 subscribers, and we just have.
Excuse me, it's 240,000. Thank you.
Oh my god!
How dare you?
Wow. Can I come on your show sometime? Jeez.
I don't have a dedicated show, but you are more than welcome to come on whenever you want.
Hey, next time I launch, when I launch Wraith of God 3, I'm going to hit you up.
Yeah, I need to read the first two.
Oh my god!
I have both.
I know you ordered them.
I know. No, I have both. I didn't realize I ordered your second one twice.
Twice.
I opened them both on stream. I think I always try to back at like the highest tier, the second highest tier. So I have like 50 copies of your damn book, and I don't know where they are.
Thank you.
Yeah, but at least Aaron's book didn't get eaten.
Yeah, you know what? But his didn't have a werewolf on the cover. Yours did.
Anna's dog ate her hardcover of Giant-Sized Two-Fisted Manly Tales.
Little shit. I know the hardcover, one of the rare hardcover books I have, but that is why now all of my books are in here.
He was drawn to it like raw meat, Graham. That's what it was.
Yeah. He was a manly dog.
There you go.
She is a manly dog.
She's a manly dog. No, wait a minute.
No, she's a bitch.
Don't transition your dog. Oh,
but
my goodness.
She was just a puppy too when she did that. But now I know no books around the dog.
Okay. Learned your lesson.
When my dog was a puppy, she ate, I think, 3 comic books of mine on 3 separate occasions. And you know what the connector was? Every one of them was a Jim Aparo comic. My dog did not like Jim Aparo.
See, my dog just chewed up that book, a few others. Like I have what is that? One of those the big Fable novels. Like Fables.
Okay.
Yeah. She ate the second one because I get the omnibuses of them.
Yeah.
So she ate the second one, which thankfully I'd already read that. But she chewed up my wedding shoes, which I was not happy about.
Oh no.
Yeah, she went through this phase where she would always chew up my left shoe, and then she found my wedding shoes and chewed them up. So I was not happy about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had a puppy eat a royalty chick.
Oh no.
That's the worst. That is the worst.
Yeah, and it was a pretty good royalty check too.
Did you get them to reissue it, or what did you do?
Yeah, I called up Pat Bastien at DC because back then you could just talk to everybody you needed to talk to.
Right,
I said,
right.
"Hey, Pat, it's Graham, you're not going to believe this, but that royalty check that just went out, my dog ate it." And she just started cracking up. She goes, "I know this is true because nobody's going to make up that story."
Did you have
they canceled it and then reissued a new one.
Oh, that's good.
Back when DC was cool.
Yeah, that was an expensive dog treat. That's for sure, man.
Yeah. Shitting out dollars.
Yeah, yeah, yours.
Yeah, mine.
Your dollars. God.
I buy you treats with this money.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. No treats for you. So, guys in the chat, just a reminder, we'll be on a 2-week hiatus as I go on vacation. And Anna, what were you doing, Anna?
Anniversary next week, and then the week after I'll be camping in the mountains.
Anniversary and camping. So, so we'll be back in 2 weeks, and we'll start in on the menagerie.
Yeah, I'll be working. So,
and Aaron will be working and busting his butt on that glorious painting behind him.
So close to being done. So close.
What do you have left?
I got to do her face and like all of her belts and stuff.
Get it.
I'm putting you on solo. Go get it.
Show us. Oh, it's really close.
And as I was
it looks farther, doesn't it?
I explained this on Graybeards. My problem, why this is taking me so long, is because I did not work out my shading in the pencil drawing. So I'm
Okay.
doing paint. So I'm like painting it and going, I don't like the way that looks. And then I'm repainting, going, I don't like the way that looks. Then I'm repainting. So I finally almost got it where I want it. But yeah, I hope to have it finished up here in the next day or two. So
Looking great,
Very
Aaron.
nice.
there you go. Thank you.
Yeah, very, very nice.
Thank you.
You guys should go back Aaron's campaign. Kid Carter.
Planet
It's up
Doom.
right now.
Yeah, today I'm taking down the t-shirts because I got to get them to the printers tomorrow. So last chance to get
Okay.
t-shirts tonight. And the campaign's only going to be open probably for 2 more weeks would be my guess. So
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. So get on that, gang. If you haven't backed it, this is one of Aaron's most beautiful looking books. It's just, superhero action, sci-fi,
Thank
Lots
you.
of tentacles.
hot looking girls, monkeys.
No tentacles. There's no tentacles in that book, Anna.
I saw the art for it. There's a lot of
those were rejected art. There's no tentacles in this book. There's no tentacles. I'm telling you.
It's
was
got
it
hot
rejected
monkeys.
after I pointed it out?
Maybe.
It's got hot monkeys and hairy women in it. So
That's right. That's exactly what you want.
what more do you need from a
Exactly.
superhero
It's
comic?
everything, folks. As Stan Lee would say, this one's got it all, true believers.
A Fendi.
Enough said. Okay.
All right, everybody. Thank you again. Have a great week. We will see you again in a couple weeks. Until then, live long and prosper. And we'll see you. Bye-bye.
I can do it with both hands.